Good morning. Parent Power Hour is here. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your day already. And welcome. I am so excited that our little starting time screen worked. That makes me so happy. This is my first time to use it, so please bear with me. If my eyes are darting around in a lot of different places, I've got live coming up on my phone as well as on my laptop. And I'm trying to keep my eyes on all the places so I can be sure that any comments that are coming in, I'm getting to see them since I didn't yesterday. Oh my gosh. I mean, if you guys learned anything about me yesterday, you learned that I can talk to myself. You learned that I have this ability to just keep on talking and whether people are listening or not. And I actually had, when my mom watches this, she'll get a good kick out of it because, I spent a lot of hours. I mean, I'm not an only child. I'm the youngest of three. But I spent a lot of hours in my room pretending, talking to all my Barbies and animals and all of those things. And I mean, even when I'm totally a little bit embarrassed to mention this, but it makes sense now here because here I am. Even when I was like middle school aged, I would basically like work out my internal problems, my social problems, because I was always having friendships, and I'm not that I was always having friend problems, but in my middle school brain, right? Like I was trying to work stuff out, and I would like talk to myself in the mirror for hours. So I think this is it's coming into play right here, getting to talk to you all. I know that you're actually here. Janet's here. Good morning, Janet. And I know some others are tuning in as well. Thank you so much for coming in. You are in the right place. I just stepped it up on my tech. Can you believe it? I think it's working. I've got a few hearts and things coming through. Great. I'm Kristen, by the way. I should put my name on the starting screen, shouldn't I? Okay, see, improvements every day. One of my goals at the beginning of this week was to be able to end the week with actual music that's not like crackly playing through my phone that I hold up to my to my speaker here next to my earbuds, which I hope is, I'm going to actually leave both of these in today because yesterday I noticed I kept playing around with those things, and I'm harder on myself than I need to be. This is us. This is real. We're being real. Here we are. I'm going to scoot back a little bit because it's kind of getting a funny angle. Okay, there we go. That's better. So here at Parent Power Hour, what we hope to offer you from NewMinds.tv, our new learning channel. Real inspired learning is happening for parents, for students, for teachers. We hope that even if you're a teacher at home, whether you're with your own kids or you're still getting into this whole e-learning practice, that you're able to, if you can't watch it live, that you are watching it at least at some time throughout your day, or at some point in your day where you can feel that you can really tune in, because when we better take care of ourselves and when we think about and grow and go for what we see as the best version of ourselves, we have a better chance of doing that for the people around us. And today's Friday. What? Today's Friday. Last Friday I ended with a song, a little dance party, because I think that's important. So I'm going to put that out there to you all that are watching or here in the comments. Janet is like a wealth of knowledge when it comes to music. Oh my word. So I'm going to put that out either to her or to somebody else who's watching. What's your favorite song? I can't play the whole thing, but if you have a fun dance song, a song that we can move our body to or something like that, I'd love to hear it. Or love to hear what your suggestions are. I think this might help a little bit. And I can play that at the end and we can all dance our way into the weekend. The weekend is still a thing. How much you work or don't work is still up to you. And so you can still have a weekend. You can still have, times where you put your laptop away and your computer away and you're done. Well, now I've just cut off the top of my head. So that's not helpful either. I know I'm not wearing pajama pants. These are just good, comfy pants. Justin showed off his pajama pants today, and on his get the day started. And so, my mom's just on. Hey, Mom, you just missed it. I was admitting to everyone that all of my hours and hours and hours of pretend talking and playing to all my Barbies and animals and to myself in my bathroom mirror is coming into coming to help me out here. With yesterday me not having any ability to see the comments or to see if anybody was actually here, and I still managed to talk for 40 minutes. So all of my growing up in the house playing around with who knows what in my room for hours, I'm not an only child. It's just how I process things to talk them out. And if you've been on any of our episodes or here at Parent Power Hour, you've heard me say that before. And we all have our own way of processing them out. Some people are writers, some people are talkers, some people keep everything in, and that's actually a little bit of what we're doing here, is to recognize that. Oh yeah, oh, Shay's here. Good morning, Shay. Oh yes, Mom says, I've been doing this since I was 3 years old. It's only been like 20 years, Mom. What are you talking about? Okay, so that's part of what we're doing here, is to get out of your own head, right? There's a great book I've started reading. It just came out last week. It's called Get Out of Your Own Way. It has made the New York Times bestseller list, top 10 list, and it's written by Dave Hollis, who, yes, is married to Rachel Hollis, who's my best friend. I mean, she doesn't know it, but she is. She and I are very similar. She just, if she were here, she'd be like, yeah, Kristen, we're the same person. If any of you are also Rachel Hollis fans out there or followers, then you know that she'd be okay with me saying this. But mostly because the way of thinking, the growth mindset, all of these tips and tools that I do pass on to you are things that, they're saying the same things. And I'm literally, you guys, I'm not copying them. I promise to the Lord above, I'm not copying them. And I promise to Oprah and Buddha that a lot of days what I do is I come on here and I share the things that I think that I've been thinking about, and possible solutions I can offer to you all based off of the things that you are hearing, and or the things that you were saying. So the things I'm hearing from you, and I'm offering you, pulling from all these resources to give you some tips and ways to approach that. And then I'll watch like one of their lives the next day, and it's the same content. It's unreal. I think it's because we are all out here trying to figure this out and navigate this. And at the end of it, there's some core things that are going to help us see through it, or that are going to make a difference in the way that we interpret what's going on in our reality that we are experiencing. I almost called it a new reality, but I don't think I'm ready yet to say that this is the new reality. Takes a little longer than 2 to 3 weeks. I think that anyway, this is not this is not my conclusion show. I will go turn this off and go talk myself through a video or through a mirror in a little bit. That'll be really funny, and I'll probably actually legit do it because it helps me process. So this week what we've done is what we've been focusing on is, what are we going to be at the end of this? Not just the end of this week, but at the end of this experience that we are having together in this life, in this time, in this period, the time of Corona. And that's how we started out our week. And we started out with trying to answer the question, what's the best version of myself? How is the best version of myself handling this right now? And at the end of this life and times of Corona, at the end of this, who do I want to be? What do I want to be? Last week we worked on defining our why and having a tangible image, a tangible vision, a clear vision. That's the word. A clear vision of who we want to be in life, in our hopes and dreams, and then more specifically at the end of all of this, when some of the routine of life does continue to come back. People do start driving to work again. You do start going to Target without having to do, crazy pickup, sit in a car. All the things that we consider to be our normal life experience, at least here in this Dallas area. And for those of you that are around the world in other places, you've been in lockdown in other ways that we haven't experienced yet, or that we're about to experience, and you're already kind of coming around to, the end of this. I know my friends in Shanghai are, starting to feel the shift again about, how life is starting to emerge and kind of look a little bit more similar to the way it looked, back in 2019, way back then. Do you guys remember then? Do you guys remember those days? Do you remember the days when you could just go into Starbucks and sit if you wanted to? Do you remember the days when you used to just go to Trader Joe's and walk around in the aisles and chit chat with the crew members about special cheese? Oh, those are my fantasies. I know Shay's on here too. She and I actually did go into that fantasy land a little bit last night. We were like, don't you wish you could just go to Trader Joe's? I mean, because it's a happy place for me. So whatever your happy place is, those were good days a few weeks ago, and they're coming back. They will be back, right? And so we started off this week on episode 6. Yes, not an ad, but also lots of hearts and lots of big loves. Which, I mean, Trader Joe's is hiring. Any bartenders out there, any baristas that are not having enough hours in your job anymore? I don't know. I'm just saying, if I wasn't here with you all so often, I could entertain the thought of working at Trader Joe's. That would be kind of fun. Okay. And by the way, while we're kind of recapping the week, if anything piques your interest, hop on over to newminds.tv. That's our channel for New Minds Enrichment, where we have all of the Parent Power Hours in addition to our programs for students and inspirational as well as parenting tips from Ben and Justin, who are the New Minds Enrichment co-founders. So on Tuesday, we shifted into talking about the spiral that we can, and the trap that we can unintentionally find ourselves in when we do lose sight of our why, when we do lose sight of who we want to be at the end of this. And ultimately, what I encourage you to do is I forgot that little card. That was a good one too. Is to be sure that your desire is greater than your fear. Greater than any doubt that you have about yourself, about your family, about the outcome, any fear that you have about the outcome. That is smaller, that is less than your desire and your drive of who you want to be, the life that you want to live, the intention that you want to have. And with that, instead of doubting it and then thinking, well, after Corona, or well, after we get into a better routine of homeschooling, and after whatever you decide is after, instead of delaying that, or let's continue with that. When you start to delay and you're doubting and you're losing all of the focus and clarity, then that divide between who you are and who you want to be, your experience versus what you know is best for you and your family, just grows even greater. And so instead, realign, come back to your why, come back to, even if it's a small decision like whether or not you're going to walk to the park today. Those things can still be in line with the vision that you have for your family and for yourself during times of crisis, during regular times, even when regular life is back. These are tips for this as well, that go in that direction with confidence, take action on those things. They're within you for a reason. You have this vision of your family and who you want to be and who you see your family as, who you see your children as, and the dynamics, the kind of relationships that you have with people in your family or your significant other. Those desires come from somewhere, right? And you could say they're God-given. You can say you're born that way. However you decide to say it. In any case, it's a part of who you are. And you have those desires for a reason. So act on them. So and I'm preaching to myself right now, that instead of thinking, well, I probably shouldn't go in that direction, I probably shouldn't go for that because I don't have the right skill, I don't have this, I don't, people are going to think this. That's that doubt. And then I start saying, okay, I'm just going to, you know what, I don't have the right degree, or I don't have, the letters behind my name that say I'm a social psychologist. I'm not very good at remembering lots of facts, which is why I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 note cards. I have 8 note cards right here, right now. But, I'll just skill up. I'll keep reading and I'll keep learning and I'll find ways to write stuff down and I'll skill up. And then after I'm done skilling up, then I'll be ready. But then all I do is end up analysis paralysis, which is very common for me. I used to think it was a general, and I think maybe my middle school, high school, college version of myself was just procrastinate. Baseline, procrastinate. And I see now that that's more of a trap of analysis paralysis, that I don't feel ready yet. And some of you probably aren't feeling ready yet. You're probably not feeling like you have the right circumstances to live fully into who you know that you're supposed to be. To live fully into the vision that you have for your family, for your job, for your business. And you're probably also starting to allow some of those fears of the realities of the unpredictable future have a much more powerful position on how you proceed than it's allowed to have, to be honest. Because when you start to give power to those things, that's where that disconnect, that divide continues to grow. And so what we do instead is we stay connected to it. That's why we write down our goals every day. That's why we have our gratitude practice. And writing down your goals as if they've already happened. I'm still recapping. If you're just joining us, we're kind of doing a review of the week, so we can be totally gathered together on our Friday. And I'm still waiting for some song suggestions. I don't see any in the comments. I'm leaning over to make sure. We're going to finish our day dancing it out, our time together dancing it out. So if you have some suggestions about a fun song that lifts your spirits when you hear it, I'd love to put it on and play it for us. That'd be super fun. So then we started to venture into the land on episode 8 of asking ourselves, what do we want to feel at the end of this? What do we want to feel right now? So not only who do we want to be, but what do we want to feel? And we unpacked the difference between feelings versus emotions. It's really clunky and it's not easy to sit in that. So instead of giving a very baseline overview, I would encourage you to go back to episode 8 and listen to that one again and give it some thought. Let it sit with you for a few days. And let me know what you're thinking about that, because it's not necessarily a fine line, but there is a line, and there is a distinction between those two and how our brains attempt to associate meaning to our emotions. Oh good, Janet's coming in with some songs. Yay! Oh, and so is Miss Jeannie. That's great. Thank you. And our brains are wired that way. Like physically, it's not a personality thing. It is all human experience. We attempt to associate meaning because that's how we learn. We make connections. We have predictions about the future. And when we assign meaning to something, then we can conceptualize it and we can move on and add other meanings to it. And you see this in your kiddos, especially the little ones. Around age 3, they start asking why. It really, really lives up openly in age 4. Sometimes a little bit younger than that. But so we're talking about between 2 and 4. You see their little brains start to try to make meaning of things, and they start asking why. I had a friend this week that said that her 4-year-old is asking why is there coronavirus? Why don't we have coronavirus? She hears everybody else has it. And so she's like, why don't I have it? maybe I want it too. I mean, FOMO, right? And to a 4-year-old, FOMO is fear of missing out. And to a 4-year-old, and they keep asking the same question. And that was what my friend was expressing. She was like, if I hear her ask one more time, why don't we have Corona? Why don't we have Corona? She's like, she asks it a million times a day. And that is such an unfiltered, it's totally developmentally appropriate. She's trying to make meaning of the things that she's hearing happen in her home, hearing her parents discuss, hearing while they're driving around, trying to get that nap going. She's hearing that and she's trying to process what that is. And so she just keeps asking the same question over and over because her brain isn't actually ready yet to make that meaning. She doesn't have that world perspective. It's impossible for a 4-year-old to understand that, there's such and such billion people on this planet that are all affected by this not tangible. You can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't hear it, you can't feel it, well, unless you've got it. So I thought, that's just been on my mind since she mentioned that her 4-year-old's just asking, well, why do we have it? Why don't we have it? Well, why? And we're doing that too as adults. And our version of that is trying to put together all the puzzle pieces of all the things that we're hearing. And we're trying to make meaning out of that. We're trying to make meaning of the physical reaction that we are having to the stress. To even when I find myself doing that, I'm like, okay, I need to put my shoulders back down again. Because I look back at my videos and my shoulders are always up here. Because that's me. That's me with my stress. And so if you see me doing this a lot, it's because I'm reminding myself to be here in this moment with you. To not start to stress about all of the news that's flying by. I don't know about you guys also, but I've got 4 family text message groups. I've got 3 girlfriend text message groups. So those 7 groups are all sharing different information about things that they're learning about the circumstances that we're in. Good and not so good. Amazing, powerful videos of people standing out on their balconies in the high-rise apartment buildings in downtown Dubai, which is typically a very buzzing, noisy place. And it's quiet because there's curfew. You can't leave your house. And there's people sitting out on their balconies. And we're talking 64, very tall high-rise buildings that you can hear them in their residences or standing out on their balconies, clapping and cheering, flipping the lights because it was dark, flipping the lights on and off as a way of showing their thanks, their gratitude to the healthcare workers, to the first responders in the city. And I mean, this is just an example of me just being overwhelmed at the amazing connection that humanity will still survive, that the love, not just human life, but that our humanity, our sense of connection, our sense of we are in this together, that is still, it will find a way. It will find a way. I mean, and that was an example of a really awesome, I saw that come through, and I just, especially since I used to live there, I would just tears, because I know that it's not a place that gratitude is a common expression in the daily life of people in that city in general. I'm totally overgeneralizing, totally. I'm pretty sure that the people that are driving around the, gold-plated Ferraris and Maseratis are not opening their door and saying, I'm so grateful for this gold-plated Maserati. That's kind of, maybe they are, and forgive me if they are. So I digress. There's lots of information coming in. We're trying to make meaning of it. And there gets a point where even in our highly developmentally appropriate brain, fully evolved human size connections and brain, we are still having the same question. But why? But why? But why? And what that looks like and sounds like is different than a 4-year-old, yet we're still attempting to make meaning. So when we're in the middle of that, the thing here to focus on is your future 4. And that's from High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. His suggestion, or his research, this is research based over 20 years. He researched the highest performers in any of their professions and found that the highest performers focus on self-improving social interactions, relationships, improving their skills, and contributing and improving their service. And when those 4 things are at the forefront of what you do, then you can move through this like trap of, I can't make sense of all of this. And yesterday we talked about how we choose our ending. We started the week with, who do you want to be at the end of this? And we ended yesterday with, what have you chosen? Because when you're faced with this on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, you're faced with this and you choose your ending. And when you're choosing your ending and you're learning how to navigate your ending, it's not going to be easy, because change is not comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're not changing. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. There's no experience in any version of human life that change comes without struggle. And some struggles are bigger than others. Some struggles are like, that was kind of weird to figure out. It was a little like, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, I rode my bike. You know, I fell off once or twice, but I got back on, and I can still ride my bike. And legit, I think I was like 22. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time riding bikes when I was a kid. And, you know, then middle school and high school happened and whatever. I think it was older than 22, because I was doing my master's degree work in Minnesota, and I was attempting to ride a bicycle because I'm like, I want to be like everybody I want to be like everybody in St. Paul. You know, everybody's on their bikes and they're all pedestrians, and I like almost hit one every day in my car when I was driving up there, and I was like, I want to try to ride a bike. And it had been like seriously probably 10 to 15 years since I had ridden a bike. And when you know it, I'm riding it, and it was a bike from a friend that, a friend of a friend. So I was living with a friend because I would go up there during the summers to do my master's work. And she's like, oh yeah, I have a friend that, you know, has a middle school son that he doesn't use his bike anymore. He's about your height. I'm 5'4", so middle school boy, yeah, that's about my height. Sure, I'll borrow that bike. When you know it, the one time I tried to ride a bike in 15 years, I'm coming down a hill and I'm pedaling and the chain falls off. And I mean, I just went into the grass. Like, it didn't end with tragedy, but I did fall off. I fell off on the grass. I'm okay. And plus that was like so many years ago. But you know, I learned when I was a child how to ride a bike. I didn't ride a bike again for like 15 years. I got on it. I struggled through it. This is kind of a lame example, but it's my example right now that's popped in my head. And, you know, I got back on a bike again. And a few years ago, I rode a bike in Bali. Like, I didn't fall off. I mean, it was also Bali, so there's a little motivation there. And on one of the islands there, you can actually get a bicycle, rent it for the day, and you can actually ride around the entire little island because it's so small. Anyway, I just going to some places that I love in my head when I end up telling these stories sometimes. So, you know, that was kind of a small struggle. That's not a big life struggle. That's not Corona level. But let that be a sample, or maybe you've experienced small struggles and you got through those. Okay, that's the point. You get through them. You get back up. You try. You get on the bike again. Parenting. You sucked at it yesterday. You're going to get back up today, and you're going to try it again. E-learning. Doing your lessons. It sucked yesterday. we're all adults here, so I'm just going to say it sucked. And it was awful, and you snapped at your kids at home, and you're trying to manage that as you're also a teacher at home with your kids at home, and you sucked at it, and then you snapped at your husband, and you snapped at your dog, and that was awful. And today you're going to get back up and you're going to start again, because we're choosing our ending, because we may not know how to get there. We may not know what's going to happen along the way. And I'll go ahead and share the quote I shared yesterday, is that when we learn to see struggle as necessary and important and a positive part of our journey, then we can find peace and personal power. And when we are finding that peace and we're making that meaning, what we're doing is we're really aligning our expectations, okay? And I know I'm like dropping in some new stuff in here with this review of the week, and I hope that you're finding something maybe new, or as I am reviewing the week, maybe you're hearing something that we did talk about and you're hearing it from a different place today. So as we're aligning to our why and getting more clarity on that in everything that we do, what we're also doing at the same time is that we're aligning our expectations. You know, this kind of goes back also to when we name it to tame it. And we are able to keep our expectations in a place of focus and in alignment with our why. And when we don't have our expectations aligned, when they are too big, and this is something I heard this week, and I was like, whoa, knowledge bomb, that expectations are resentments just waiting to happen. I was like, but if I don't expect nothing, then I get nothing. If I don't, instead, you know, when you start to name your reality and put them out as the goals and make sure that what your future is the best version of yourself, your social, your skill, your service, and those things align there with clarity of who you are, that took me a second to unpack, because I was like, if I don't expect anything, then I don't know where to go. But I do know where to go, because of all the things I just reviewed a second ago, like all of the work that we've done in aligning and having clarity on who we are and where we go. And if we don't align our expectations, if we don't name to tame our feelings, then they will eat us alive. If we don't name our fears, if we don't put them out there, then they will eat us alive. They will consume us. They will weigh us down. We won't be able to open our front door without the fear. Of course, that's extreme, but you know, maybe it's not extreme. Maybe right now, so much of the fear, and I'm not saying being stupid. Don't be stupid. Like, listen to all of the recommendations for how to stay safe and healthy in your home, and follow the guidelines that the city or your county is being put on you. Like, don't be dumb. But what I am saying is, when you're making those decisions and when you are choosing to listen to the guidance of our, the health recommendations, you're not choosing fear. You're not coming from a place of, well, I'm super afraid to go outside of no, you're saying they said don't go outside of your house because you'll help, lower that curve or whatever the thing is. So that's the difference there. And the other thing that came to my mind that is where I kind of want us to land today is that when we operate from this place of fear, we're not being true to ourselves. And we've unpacked this a lot this week. And I kept thinking, like, why is fear and even last week, and I think it's because it's conclusions it's the meaning that I'm trying to make about the common theme that I hear from friends, from people, from family, from the internet, from all over the places, right? And I'm gonna get a little bit so I was raised Pentecostal in the church, preaching, just it's what I grew up with, and I couldn't get it out of my head that God has not given us the spirit of fear. And whether you're spiritual or not, whether you are religious or not, I'd like to still unpack that phrase, is that you are not born with the spirit of fear. Because think about the little bitty ones. Think about the kids. Think about, your 18-month-old that is willing to just jump off the edge of the couch. And you're like, oh my God, you're going to crack your head open. There's no fear in that. Think about all of the new things that we learn along the way as we grow as a human, and how we can't be fearful when we start to grow into those things. We can't be fearful when we go to kindergarten for the first time. We don't even know what's going on. Developmentally, your brain doesn't know what's going on when you're 5 years old. And yet when we're here as an adult and we're college and we're making all these life decisions and all of that, like that's actually not that's a learned thing. You have learned to fear. You have learned from society, from past negative experiences. And I mean, you've of course, there are the extreme trauma is something that we learn from. There's actual physical rewiring of your brain when you experience extreme trauma, whether that's physical, emotional, whatever the category is. And then there's like big T trauma, abuse, health issues, cancer. Those are big T traumas. Then there's also little T traumas, like falling off your bike and having learned again from yourself. I heard this yesterday and Janet, thank you so much for sending me that. And Kelly, that's who it was. They sent me a quick little 9-minute thing, and that reminded me about the big T trauma and the little T trauma that, we start to learn that this is how we have to be. And I'm not sure, maybe Corona for you is a big T trauma. Maybe, you do know someone that is sick. Maybe whatever your case is, maybe it's also a little T trauma. And we have the power to choose that it doesn't end with us being fearful. It doesn't end with us having this new, I'm never going to leave my house again because who knows when the next outbreak could be. And, whoa. Like you learned that. That's not innate of who you are. Fear is not innate of who you are. And so to finish up that verse, because I couldn't remember how the verse ended. I'm sure if I, called my brother who is a preacher, and so I'm going to preach for a second. I hope he's okay with it. But I asked Google, I was like, hey Google, how does that verse end? God hath not given us the spirit of fear. And Google read to me that it's given us a spirit of power, of love, and a sound mind. And I was like, that's what we've been talking about this week. And that's what parent power is. And for me personally, I struggled with that for a second because I was like, how many times have people in the church misinterpreted, and this is not what this is not what this video is about, but how many times have people misinterpreted power as like, well, I've got the power over you, so you are going to do X, Y, and Z. I'd like to shift our thinking to more Martin Luther King Jr.'s definition of power, which his definition of power is the ability to affect change. In that case, yes, we all have power. You have power to affect the change, how you feel about something. You have the power to affect change in your family. You have power to affect change in how you mentally process something. You have power to affect change in your community, in your neighborhood. So let's go with that version of power. And we've been living with this week, is that we do have the power because we are choosing our ending. We have the spirit of power, of love. That's what we on NewMinds.tv, from New Minds Enrichment, that we're giving to you from now 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. We are giving you love. This is our way of showing you that we love and we care about all of you, and that we want to make sure that we all come out of this with a different ending than what we're currently fear-mongering about, right? Is that as parents, you can trust that our STEAM trains, STEAM en Espanol, STEAM Al Arabia, Around the World, Mr. Walter, Into the Dungeonverse, we've got this whole gamut of kinds of experiences for your kiddos to have that you can trust us with, that you can trust that, when we put this out, it's research-based, it's best for best practice for kids. It's somebody different than your kid's classroom teacher if they're middle school or elementary. Or maybe we are one of your teachers and you miss seeing us every day. We're giving you as much love as we can. And that's what I'm here for, is to give you love, to let you know that in this community of the 5 or 6 people or 17 or 18 people that watch live with us here today or every day, or if it's the people that tune in afterwards, that we are here as a community of love and support for each other, and that we can start to affect change because of the power that we have with our thoughts, with the power and the ability to affect change that we can have as a community. So it's a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and of sound mind. If all of this isn't about sound mind, then I don't know what it is. That we have, and that you have the spirit of that. That doesn't mean you have it. That means that you have the ability to move towards finding a peaceful mind. You have the ability, you have the power, you have enough love for yourself and the strength in you for others as well, that you can cultivate a sound mind. You can cultivate a peaceful mind. You can cultivate and learn through habits and through intention that your thoughts are just that. They are just thoughts. What you do with those thoughts is the final and ultimate result of being aligned with your why. And so I think that's kind of the big punch. Punch, that's not very peaceful. It's your peaceful mind. Punch, here's some information. No, but I think that's one of the things that I want to end with today, is that you have the power, you have the love, and when you have the power, that means that you have the ability to affect change, to share your love, and to go with, okay, yeah, I like that one. And to go with the, all of the confidence and the thoughts. And I'd love to hear from you. I know that, I'm just going to look up the song really quick. And it will be Less Than Professional. I'm sorry. I know I was like so proud of myself for having all my digital and everything set up. And we'll finish that way. Don't worry. But I can't, now it's not. What is up? I have one bar reloading. Oh, that's super sad. So we might have to have our dance party on a different Friday. Oh, that makes me sad. Expectations. There you go. Now I'm going to resent Spotify for forever. Not an ad. So I definitely want to end with that. I'd love to hear from you. Even yesterday I was getting some comments coming in from one or two of the other, oh yay, loaded. From one or two of the other episodes, and nope, that's not the right one. Okay, we're going to leave that. I'm going to let that go. I loved getting those comments and seeing how you're sharing out our videos from Parent Power Hour here, and who you're sharing them with. Wow. I mean, it's been really amazing. I mean, I'm just going to brag on us for a second. We had a local politician, state senator. Ooh, I should know what she is. I'm not going to say her name, but she reposted one of our videos, and there was Channel 2 News and some local place in Nevada that reshared one of our videos, or reshared our whole NewMinds.tv concept. So amazing things are happening for us because of you, because the more that we hear from you, the more we know how to better serve you, and to be able to come to you with all of our hearts, with a strong back, with a soft front, and with a heart that's ready to give back to you all. So we thank you so much for tuning into Real Inspired Learning with us every day. And as you go into the weekend, we hope that you remember to pursue your passions until they become your talents. And have a great weekend. Bye.